My name is Jane Mumbi Nyambura. Mumbi Nyambura tells you that I am a Kikuyu from Kenya. Ni Mkikuyu. Mimi ni Mkikuyu. And that means there is a set of practices and customs that a group of people used to engage in. There is a language, there is food, there are things that Kikuyu people used to do. A set of practices, some culture that they used to practice. Now, today we are dealing with religion and we are dealing with westernization. We are dealing with westernization and religion. And I think we shouldn't dismiss any of those, because none of this is 100%. None of this, not religion, not westernization, and not our cultural practices. So I believe and I think all of these need to be brought to the table. Ziwekwe pale kwa meza. Then we go through one by one and decide which of these practices that are adding value to us, that are going to make us a better people. Twende kwa customs, we figure out, and when I'm talking about customs, I'm not just talking about Kikuyu, I'm talking about the Luya customs, I'm talking about the Luo customs, I'm talking about the Swahilis. We need to take all of this religion, westernization, our culture, and marry them together. We select the things that are adding value to us and stick with those. Zile zenye hazituletei manufaa tuachane nazo. Things that are not adding value to us, we need to leave and set them aside. Our culture is rich. It is rich. Is it perfect? But it is rich. There are so many things that we can borrow from our culture. Things that instilled discipline. For example, in Kikuyu culture, men never used to drink until they were respectable men in the society. Pombe ilikuwa ya wazee wa kuheshimika. Mtu amelea watoto, mtu amepewa heshima yake. But today, westernization is telling us when you are of 18 years, you can start to drink. Wewe ni kijana, hata hujui anything. And we are telling you, because now you are a man, you should start drinking. So, some of these things, we need to marry them. And say now, this is what culture says, this is what westernization says, this is what religion says. So, how do we marry them? So that we can add value to our lives. Of course, there are things, there are cultural things that zimepitwa na wakati. For example, if today you start telling me, I talk to the dead, now, something is wrong with you. Once you are dead, you are dead. You are gone. If I die today, I'm dead, I'm gone. Usianze kuniambia nianze kuongea na watu walikufa, hapana. Usinianze kuniambia nianze kutahirisha wamama, hapana. For what reason? What value is it adding? What value is it adding to that lady that now she is circumcised? What value is it adding? But there are things that can add value. There are cultural things that add value to people. For example, in Kikuyu culture, a thief alikuwa anawekwa taya, anachomwa. And I'm not saying we start burning people, but it was done like that to instill fear. But today, most of us, we are just thugs. So we need to come up with better strategies. We can borrow from our culture. I'm not saying we start burning people, no. Our Kikuyu religion, we used to worship under Mugumo tree, and we could offer sacrifices of goats. So please, today, don't tell us to start sacrificing our goats. No, imepitwa na wakati. But we can borrow something from our religion. Our religion made people respect God. fear God. Mungu alikuwa wa kuheshimiwa. Today we do not fear God. We can borrow that part that we need to fear God. Mugumo tree ilikuwa mugumo mahali ya kuheshimika. Hata hiyo mugumo tree hungecheza nayo. But today we are going to houses that have been set aside for worship, and we are doing all manner of things because we do not fear God. So there are things, there are practices that we can borrow from our culture, our language. Personally, when I started teaching my son how to speak, I was torn between teaching him Kikuyu and Kiswahili. And I decided to teach him how to speak in Kiswahili. And the reason is, my neighbor was a Kamba, the other one was Luo, the other one was Swahili, another one was Kalenjin. And I needed my kid to be able to communicate to these kids, to be able to play with them. So I had to teach my child how to speak Kiswahili as a first language, to be able to communicate. The house girls that I was getting were from other tribes, was Luo, Luya, Swahili, Kambas, and they do not understand Kikuyu, and I needed my kid to be able to communicate. However, right now, I'm trying to teach him how to speak in Kikuyu because it is a beautiful language. It is a beautiful language. And I would hate that years down the line, none of our children can actually be able to speak in Kikuyu. We've been westernized, and I understand. I understand why we speak Kiswahili, why we speak English. If I needed to communicate to the whole world, I have to speak in English because I needed to understand what I'm saying. In Kenya, I have to learn how to speak in Kiswahili because many people do not know how to speak in English, and I do not understand their languages. So I have to learn how to speak Kiswahili. And I also need to be able to learn my language, to be able to communicate in Kikuyu. And I want my child to be able to communicate in Kikuyu. Now, if you are in the village, why are you teaching your child Kiswahili as a first language? The neighbors are Kikuyu. They understand Kikuyu. Why are you not teaching your children Kikuyu? So that they can learn Kikuyu as their first language. Then they go to school and learn Kiswahili and English the way we learned. We learned Kiswahili and English in school, and we are good at it. We can be able to express ourselves in both Kiswahili and in English. But we understand Kikuyu. If you are in the village, your neighbor is a Kikuyu. If you are in the village, your neighbor is Luya. If you are in the village, your neighbor is Luo. Can you please teach these children the first language as that cultural language so that they can be able to learn it, they can be able to understand it. Then when they go to school, they can be able to be taught Kiswahili and English, and they can be able now to join the rest of the world and speak the language, be able to express themselves in a language that everybody understands. There are things about religion that we need to look at keenly with wisdom and say, this one, no. It is not adding any value to us as a society, as a people. It is not making our lives better. There are things from the West that we need to say, this one, no. It is not adding value to us. So we need to sit down and put everything on the table and choose this one, that one, and this one, and marry them to be able to make a better people. A better people. We should not dismiss our culture, our Kikuyu culture, your Luya culture, your Luo culture. We should not dismiss our culture. We should not dismiss religion. Mine, for example, Christianity. We should not dismiss it fully. No, we should not dismiss it. We should not dismiss Westernization. We shouldn't. Because there are things that are of value that we can actually borrow from all ask ourselves, what is it from our culture that is actually going to add value to us? What is it from our religion that is actually adding value to us? What is it from the Western culture that is actually adding value to us? And then we can marry all these three together to make a better people. Tuko pamoja? It is a beautiful morning.